Hello and welcome to another Tactical Corner. Today we look at the Tyranids facing off against the Drukhari in this open war mission. 1500 points, get ready to improve your game with some tactical thoughts from the Archon Skari. Stay tuned and let's begin. Hello, and welcome to another Tactical Corner. Today we look at the Tyranid force, 1500 points, playing against the Drukhari. Now, 8th edition has been a fantastic change to the Tyranid codex, and the index has a lot of cool nuances and special things that really bring the Tyranids up from what it was in previous editions. Now, my opponent brought a list that essentially works around the Genestealer blob, 20 Genestealers, coming out of a Trigon tunnel that then is supported by the Swarmlord in a mycetic spore so that he can hive mind them and get the Genestealers to move again, which means that they essentially pop up anywhere, move up with their 8-inch movement, and then charge anything that they want to charge. Now, because you have a giant unit of Genestealers, it's very easy to target multiple things. And my army was a very elite army of Dark Elder. I had a couple of Racks, I had some Cabalite Warriors, I had some Hellions, I had a Flyer. It's a very eclectic list. Nothing overly complicated and or powerful. Now, one of the biggest strategic bonuses that I had was the ruins, because large monsters are not allowed to climb up or end their movement on the top of ruins. So I was able to really kind of get off the ground to really help myself against things like the Carnifexes, the Swarmlord, and the Trigon as well. Now my opponent had the first turn, and he came up with his Swarmlord and his Genestealers off to a flank. I had used my Beast Pack to block off one flank, essentially, kind of forcing him the way that I wanted him to go. Now, his main core of fire support, the Exocrine and the Carnifexes, together with the Malanthrope, were in the backfield. Now, the Malanthrope is a character which prevents you from targeting it specifically. It's a Forge World, essentially a combination of a Venomthrope and a bit of a Zoanthrope as well. But because of the deployment style, he didn't take full advantage of the deployment and kind of stayed way back in his deployment zone next to his objective. This meant that although he had a shooty firebase to support his close combat elements, he found himself quickly isolated from the rest of his army. Because of my speed, I was able to redeploy my forces, staying out of range of his main guns, to focus on the main target at hand. Now, I knew that the game was going to go down quick and brutal. Now, my biggest proponent was, of course, the Genestealers. They came out, they moved with the Swarmlord, and they essentially swarmed around my Cabalite Warrior Raider. Now, my opponent could have spread out more and maybe done a giant line of Genestealers to engage multiple targets, but most of my army is in flying transports, which means it's not really going to help him to just engage and bog down my army, as I can just simply fly away. He needed to focus on a unit and kill it. In this case, he focused on that Raider. Now, in my second turn, I essentially turned all my army against the Genestealers and against the Trigon. Now, the Swarmlord was a little bit far back for me to really have to worry about the Swarmlord coming in on the second turn. But I knew that I had to kill that Trigon, because if I only focused on the Genestealers, the Trigon would have swept in and really started to put a lot of pressure, and then I would have had to deal with the Trigon, and then I would have had to deal with the Swarmlord. So by taking out the Trigon with my Lances, I was able to focus on the Genestealers and bog them down in combat with some Hellions and the Dogs, and that eventually wiped them out with a good combined charge that then left his Firebase and his Swarmlord. Now, Swarmlord charged in, took the bait and attacked my Cabalite Warriors of the Dogs, and I was able to swarm the Swarmlord with a lot of high damage weapons, the Hellions namely, and just essentially bogged him down. He is a very strong character, but he does require some support, and I sent the right tools in for the job. The Dogs, high number of attacks, and of course high damage in with the Hellions as well. This then meant that I was able to move around and get objectives and use my long-range firepower with the Lancers to take out the Carnifexes that were in support, giving me the victory in a few turns. So, let me know what you think. How would you have handled a high-pressure army like the Tyranids? Leave a comment down below, check the links, and thank you so much for watching. We'll see you all next week on the next Tactical Corner.